1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there. Welcome to the program. It's the 15th of the 1st of the month. Of the year, 2014. That just shows that I'm somewhat in my right mind if I can say all that stuff. And the President of the United States is Barack Obama. Those are the kind of questions they ask you when they're not sure if you're in your right mind. Well, I have to tell you, so in my perusal of various news sources today, it occurred to me that I am disinterested in an awful lot of stuff that constitutes news, and that I am incapable of comprehending without an awful lot of work on my part a lot of the news that looks like it is important. Do you know how maybe when you were young, if you listened to the news or read the news, that there were whole big hunks of it that you really didn't comprehend at all because you didn't know how things worked and you didn't understand. But you know, I'm speaking for myself, I would keep reading and think that someday some of this might make sense. Well, increasingly, I feel like that again. A lot of the stuff about internet, about technology, about this latest thing where the NSA, it was the big story in the New York Times today, where the NSA has been able to get into computers. See, some of you guys already know what I'm trying to say, right? That are not even online, and to sort of implant in them something that allows the NSA to, I guess, do anything they almost want with the computer. And even talking about this now, my head starts hurting. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to keep up. That's my fear. I think an extraordinary journalistic opportunity exists for the kind of person who could be a reporter, who could translate in a way that people who are not tech savvy, particularly, could comprehend these important issues. And I mean, maybe the fault is mine. Maybe those reporters already are reporting this stuff, and I'm too lazy to work at understanding it. But it occurred to me today, because there are a number of stories that I was reading that I thought, I don't really know if I'm following this. I felt a little like I did when I was maybe 10 or 11 and listening to news that I didn't really comprehend. So that's a very sort of humbling way to begin the day, but that's how I began mine. Now, one of the stories I bumped into was about net neutrality. Now, right there is a phrase that I do recall, that I know this is a big issue, that I know I'm supposed to be for it, that it's a good thing, net neutrality, and that some of the big boys are very much against it because it prevents them from, I guess, making the kind of money or having the kind of power they want in regard to the internet. So I finally I saw a headline in the Daily Beast that had this sort of frightening headline: "Does this ruling mean the end of the internet?" And the answer in the headline is maybe. Well, that's just a good headline, because when you read the story, it appears that that's, a little overstated. However, I found this reporting to be the first that allowed me to understand this whole net neutrality thing, which now is up in the air again because of a federal judge's ruling yesterday. And it very much has an impact on all of us who do access things on the internet, who assume that we can get from A to B on the internet, that we can Google anything, that we can find anything. And without net neutrality, that's more problematic. And so in an effort to help those of you who maybe like me are a little clueless about what this is, let me share just a little of this, I thought, really good piece. Anyway, so they said this federal appeals court, I did hear this on the news, and I thought, I don't understand what that really means. So if we have a caller. Hello, caller. We do not. On Tuesday, yesterday, this appeals court in D.C. essentially threw out, just trashed the FCC's open internet rules, net neutrality. And as this reporter, who's very capable, because I think he knows he's talking to people like me, he then says, translation, the judges just killed net neutrality. Then he has less wonky translation. Verizon, AT&T, Time Warner, Comcast, whoever provides your internet connection, okay, can now, because of this ruling, block, slow, or otherwise mess with websites, apps, services that you just think are regular part and parcel of the internet. Now, it gets a little less frightening in that they say what essentially the judge said was that the way the FCC went about establishing net neutrality, meaning that we could all get pretty much whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, was simply invalid. The manner in which they did it did not pass some kind of legal scrutiny. So clearly this can be readdressed, if the FCC now tackles this in a, I guess, more legal and intelligent way. So there's nothing stopping the FCC now from going back and doing this again. And the problem is, though, is that now this provides an opening for these big telecom guys who, it says here, spend more on lobbyists in Washington than anyone outside the pharmaceutical industry. So pharmaceuticals are number one in terms of the money they line Paul's pockets with. And next up, your internet provider, telecoms, Time Warner and Comcast and all the others. So those lobbyists are going to be busy now again, trying to make sure that that they maybe are able to slow things down. So here's how this guy explains. So if the FCC doesn't act quickly, if these telecom companies and their lobbyists get their work done, this is what this reporter says will happen. If you're one of those people who think cable TV sucks, just wait. Because Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, whoever, they want to take what we consumers would consider the worst aspects of cable television and impose them, those same kinds of rules and aspects, onto the internet. And if they're able to do this, he said consumers of the internet can expect blackouts where you just can't get to websites, especially smaller websites, where emails and tweets and texts will somehow disappear or be delayed, where videos will load so slowly it won't even be worth trying to download them, where websites might work okay 1 minute and freeze the next. He says this is what could happen, and you'll have no idea who's to blame. Also, this guy says, and you won't be able to vote with your wallet or your feet by going somewhere else because there's no competition in broadband. And all of these purveyors will be playing the same game. So if they're free of legal restraints, they're going to try to put up tolls. They're going to threaten to block things or delay them. They're going to try to make exclusive deals. Maybe AT&T will exclusively be will be bringing its consumers Netflix, while Comcast is the only one that has YouTube. Can you imagine? Now, maybe this guy's just trying to scare us all to death, but he said the reality is that net neutrality is absolutely a must if we are to continue to have this more democratic internet that exists now. Because net neutrality lowers the barriers for entry onto the information superhighway. It allows little guys to gain footholds. And that's why the big guys don't like it. And it's one of the best things about the internet is how innovators and small folk can burst through, right? And not if net neutrality goes away. As this reporter says, without net neutrality, the next Google being built in a garage somewhere will stay in that garage. It's never going to get off the ground. So I'm sorry if you're not interested in that, but I was one of those people who didn't quite understand, and I saw the piece about the court knocking down the FCC's net neutrality provision. And I thought, I don't think that's good, but I wasn't sure exactly what net neutrality was. I think I have a clearer understanding of it now. And anyway, because of this ruling yesterday, we essentially don't have it in this country today. I'm assuming this thing kicked in right away. Eileen's having trouble getting the show through her computer. Anybody else having troubles? Working fine here. Usually when that's going on, it's your... You know what it probably is? It's whatever purveyor you have who doesn't like my show now that net neutrality no longer exists, blocking my program to your computer. That's probably what's happened. That's it. Okie doke. Speaking of all this internet stuff, with our wonky new mayor, God, have you seen what he's done? Or going to do? This is so cool. He wants all that stuff that the city government has, which is supposedly public record, so schedules, information, data, I don't know, anything. He wants all that to be available to all of us on the internet. So where before, if you needed a piece of information, you had to somehow get downtown, deal with some not particularly helpful person behind a counter. This has to pass council, and it's being put into the council by Natalia Rudiak. It's called the Open Data Ordinance, or Data. I go back and forth on that. Data Ordinance. And it could change the way all of us, and the media love this. Whoa. It just opens, he promised a more open administration. And as he put it, we want to blow the doors off this building, City Hall, to provide information to you. So that's pretty wonderful. And it says that one of the pieces of information will be, looking at the paving schedule for streets, or the location of potholes. So every pothole that has been reported, you can, I guess, almost in real time see that popping up on City Hall's list. And in regard to that, even though this is a technologically centered new mayor, you still have to fix the potholes. So he's instituted, and it's going on right now, a 72-hour pothole patching blitz, which will go on night and day, I guess until Friday. Through Friday makes it 72 hours, which is I guess, good. I don't know. I mean, potholes are just part of life, aren't they? All right, that's it for me for the moment. I'm going to take a break. Anybody who wants me to talk about anything or wants to engage me in any way, feel free, either through email, lynn@pghcitypaper.com, or telephonically at 412-316-3381. Be back with you in about a minute.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and register to win a Seven Springs overnight getaway. The CP Haps app, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
Babies come with lots of decisions.
Cloth or disposable? Crib or bassinet?
So when it comes to protection, go with the safest, most effective choice, vaccination. Get all the recommended vaccines for your baby by age 2 to protect your child against 14 serious childhood diseases. For more reasons to vaccinate, talk to your child's doctor. Go to cdc.gov/vaccines or call 800-CDC-INFO. A message from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Okay, I want to note that there was another school shooting, but it just doesn't rise to the level of the kind of school shootings that get our attention. I mean, so. And there's always that obligatory picture. I mean, we all know the drill, right? So there's the obligatory picture of terrified parents and greeting their sobbing children. And then there's always talk about heroism. How somebody, some teacher, some administrator, did this or that and prevented further whatever. I don't know. I just, whatever. So it turns out the guy who shot the man for texting had somewhat threatened a woman earlier, not that day, but in a theater as well, maybe the same theater, right? Because she was texting. And he actually, followed her to the bathroom when she went in a threatening manner, apparently. So he's an old guy who, for some reason, texting has unglued him, has made him murderous. Fascinating. And this poor man he killed. It was before the movie started. That's a big issue with me. It was before the movie started. He was texting.
Who cares?
Who cares, said Jess. The previews were showing. And he was texting. And the first thing I said is he was texting his daughter. That's what I saw. And then I saw in another article that his daughter was 3 years old. And I thought, what? You're not texting a 3-year-old? What do you mean? What do you mean you're texting? And then I wish, this is where, again, reports are so maddening. He was texting the daycare provider for his 3-year-old daughter. That makes sense. And they're actually going to say this is a stand your ground. That the guy who did the shooting, his attorney, has said he felt attacked, threatened the shooter, because he said the man threw popcorn in his face. Well, people talk about false equivalencies, but I don't see any false equivalency in someone throwing popcorn in your face and that aggressive action, understandably, could then be retaliated against with shooting them with a gun. You throw popcorn at me, I kill you. And those are equivalent aggressive actions, right? What's amazing is that Florida, and I don't know how many other states, are refusing to back down from their stand your ground laws. They're standing their ground on this outrageous legislation, which is about as dangerous a piece of legislation as you can have in a gun-besotted culture such as ours. Unbelievable. And further looking at the state of the nation and back to the judiciary, you might have known that another federal judge in yet another state has struck down a gay marriage ban. Unlike in Utah, this is a constitutional amendment that the federal judge knocked off. Hello, caller.
Yes. Good morning, Lynn.
Hi, George.
Hi. You recognize my voice?
I recognize your voice. I recognize all my gentlemen callers' voices.
You're good, I'll tell you. Anyway, yeah, I just want to comment on that movie theater shooting. There was an interview of a police sheriff from that county who was investigating that on CNN last night, which really upset me because the police officer it really said what I thought were some obnoxious things. He said that this was not a stand your ground case at all, and I hadn't heard if the attorney for the after the shooter had come out and said anything, I just thought, oh, this guy was summarizing an investigation already, and this just took place, which I found, kind of surprising. But the real surprise came when he defended the proliferation of guns. I mean, here's a police officer. I think he was the sheriff of the county, actually. And the interviewer was saying, well, isn't it, the proliferation of guns here that is part of the problem? He said, absolutely not. It's that we don't fund mental health enough in the country. And that, and of course, that's a given, that is true.
Yes, that's true.
But this sheriff would not understand that it's the lethal combination of people that are not just unhinged, but like in this shooter's case, I think it was probably just an old crotchety guy that came up on the wrong side. But the fact that he was carrying a loaded pistol into a public area
allowed him to act.
It's the combination.
Right, and destroyed a number of lives, bang, just like that.
Yeah.
But, I think these are people, and here the sheriff you're talking about, a case in point, of people who've been schooled by Fox News and right-wing media in proper talking points.
And the NRA, too.
And the NRA. And, it's like you can see them. I mean, if you say anything to them about any issue, like Christie's Bridgegate, they immediately say Benghazi or IRS Gate. And then you say guns are a problem, and they immediately say mental health. They're always ready to counter and immediately cease discussion on the core issue.
And they go immediately to the talking points of that.
Right. They just it's
of
just
the NRA.
there's a letter to the editor in the Post-Gazette today
if
that
that
is just
were just
classic.
a regular civilian, I'd say, okay, c'est la vie.
Yeah.
But this is an officer of the law who tries to use his professional connection, that his job
position,
is involving firearms and deadly force on his part as well as what he faces, to, I think, intimidate people in a way of saying, I know better about guns and you should listen to me. It's almost like running into a soldier and saying, I'm going to tell you what, this is how a war should be carried out, or this is the proper policy we should have. I don't expect professionals to get involved in political things like that. And in a way, I always, the military is removed from foreign policy because they got civilian heads. But it seems like the police ought to have that too, I think. Because these guys that are in the gun culture, like this specific police officer, thinks that he can just wade into this and use this expertise to say that there's only one way to go, and this is the way, and it's mental health that's the problem, not the combination with firearms. I think it undercuts their professionalism, and I think they're still in the minority, but it just grates me that they tried this tactic.
Well, now, wait. But how do you feel? How did you feel about when, like, the Police Chiefs Association and stuff took a stand against, for instance, the armor-piercing bullets? That's those professionals getting political, but on the other side, that's okay.
True. Yeah, but again, the distinction there is that's a whole group that apparently has decided to go that route, as compared to a singular police officer voicing
in a case in his jurisdiction. And I understand. Okay.
I mean, this is when he should stand back from it and saying,
well,
there's a number of things that are involved in gun shootings and everything, and it's complex or anything like that. It's sort of like a doctor. Do doctors singularly wade into stuff and saying, certainly they have the right to express themselves personally, but I think in the professional realm, they should, they should restrain themselves from not pushing a political agenda, which this officer obviously did.
Okay, and I must say that this officer lives also in a culture in which you're a celebrity for a moment, and this was his shining moment, and he was being interviewed.
Well, and he probably feels comfortable, in New Mexico and everything like that. But, geez, to not understand that the combination, it is actually of guns with people that are on the edge, and you don't know it.
That's right.
Is an inflammatory combination.
Well, as they say, the reason, suicides and homicides would just be, would be halved, I think, if people who in an angry moment or in a despairing moment did not have access to the weapon. And so if there weren't all these damn guns in all of our houses, then there'd be a lot of people alive.
Or in the public realm.
Yeah,
really.
There are a lot of people who would be alive who aren't.
And the great thing that came after the interview was that they had a psychologist on that said, this officer pointed out about mentally ill people, that's the only problem. She said, look, other countries that have very stiff control on firearms also have mentally ill people, but they don't have the killing rate.
They don't have, that's right, because they don't have access to the guns. Duh. You could be, you could have the intelligence of a fruit fly and understand that.
Yes.
But not in this country.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much, Mr. George.
Thank you, dear.
Take care. Bye. When I said fruit fly, you know what a long syllabic word popped into my head that I think is the Latin term for fruit fly? Is this correct? Does this ring a bell? Drosophila? That's not right.
I have no idea.
Why would it? Because when I said fruit fly, there was this it's not right. That is not right. But I think it might be close. But where did that come from? I can't remember where I put my keys. And Drosophila or something comes into my head? Are you looking up the Latin term for fruit fly?
I shall.
Oh, you weren't, were you? You looked so busy over there, and I thought you were. Because, and the reason maybe that was in my head at all, and incorrectly, however, I suspect.
Yeah, you're right.
It is Drosophila?
Yeah. How do you even know that?
Okay, you just said, how do I even know that? This is what I was going to say. I think where that word got in my head is because a lot of science experiments are done on fruit flies. Oh, my God,
Did you break it?
Did you hear that?
I did.
It's definitely a screw loose. Oh, my God, a screw fell out of my ear. I don't know. So, Drosophila. The brain is an amazing thing. And it's an odd thing. And it's so odd how I cannot access so much information that is important to me. Or in its immediacy, something I want, like someone's name, when Sokolowski comes tomorrow and we're both sitting here saying, that kind of thing, which just is part of my reality on a daily, hourly basis. And then I say fruit fly to George and Moon, and this word in the back of my head says Drosophila. Jeez. Okay. Okay, so as I was saying, there's another federal judge who's done something, and that has to do on the gay marriage front, where he struck down an entire constitutional amendment passed by the nitwits who populate the state legislature in the great state of Oklahoma. Federal judge has said, hey, Oklahoma, that amendment you passed to try to keep gay people in your state from getting married? The federal government, which trumps you babies, says, Hello, caller. Oh, turn down your audio. Turn down your audio. Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Turn down your audio. I hate hearing
Oh,
my
gosh.
own voice.
I didn't realize I was
You were
talking
on.
to you.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you turn
Let
down?
me turn down. There we go.
Thank
Now
you.
it's on mute.
Thank you.
My sister did her PhD work at Pitt on Drosophila.
Drosophila. Okay, you said it better. Okay. Did she? So that
I just sent her a text message and said, "What's the Latin term for fruit flies?" She said, "Drosophila." Why?
Now wait a minute. So is a fruit fly? Oh, is a fruit fly those little teeny little gnats as opposed to what I think of as a housefly?
Yeah.
So a Drosophila are those little annoying things that like swarm around, the bananas in the kitchen?
Yeah, and you want to hear something weird? Her PhD is in genetics and toxicology, and she was doing work on what color their eyes were.
Wait a minute. They're so tiny. Are you kidding?
No.
And you mean there's blue-eyed Drosophila and green-eyed Drosophila?
And red-eyed Drosophila, too.
Red-eyed Drosophila. Yeah.
It was the craziest thing. And then she would do these experiments, and she would have to be up all night and have to take like readings, and she was scared to death to be in the School of Public Health all night long.
Aww.
So we would take turns, my father and me and my baby sister. We would stay there with her.
Are you kidding?
In sleeping bags all night long.
Are you kidding?
No.
What a family!
Yeah,
Are you
we were
kidding?
kind of crazy. But we
No,
wanted to
I
make
mean
sure
it was
that she got out of
very
college.
sweet. You mean she was physically afraid that she was all alone and some mad rapist would kill her or something?
Oh well, she's a lunatic like that.
I'll tell you what my family would say. Lock the lab door, okay?
Yeah.
And
Well,
don't
in
let
my
anyone
family,
in.
it's
I'm
more
not
like,
sleeping
you
in
can-
a sleeping bag.
In my family, it's more like you can only trust your family. You can't trust
Okay.
anybody else.
You're not Italian, are you?
No, we're Jewish.
Oh, Jewish. Okay, same thing.
Which is
I mean,
seriously, yes,
I
of course,
think
but
it's
it's
the same thing.
same thing.
Really family stuff, yeah. Oh, my gosh. So, okay, so, geez. So if you're working with those little teeny things, how do you even, can you imagine dissecting a Drosophila?
I have no idea how she did it, and she was always with, what are they called? I want to say stethoscope, but that's not it. She was in a lab with one of those scope thingies, and had
Microscope.
That's it. That's the word. and
So she could see
different
what color
slides that she
eyes,
was
yeah.
looking at, and had things in little incubator hoods, and had timers set, and we always had to sleep in the with the fluorescent lights on.
I think
kept
your
saying,
sister
Why
owes
can't
you.
you turn them off for a while?
God, I think your sister
the thing
owes
is going
you.
to ring when it's time for you to do the next step.
Good God, your sister owes you big time. As much as I love Susan, I would no more have slept with fluorescent lights buzzing and on a floor in a lab full of flies because she was scared that someone would rape her or something. I would not.
Yeah, well, that's my family.
God bless them.
Bunch of lunatics.
Yeah, you tell her to take you out to dinner about 20 times. I think the
my God.
debt will be paid.
She was in college until she was 32, because she had an experiment that went bad, and she ended up figuring out that Fisher Scientific had a bad chemical that she used, so it ended up being recalled because of the big stink that she made.
Oh wow! So she
had to start it all over again.
Oh man, that's cool. All right, I'm
thrilled that she got out of college.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, you get Great Sister of the Year award, and thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate the call.
Bye.
Bye. Oh. All right, some emails. Lynn. This is from Chuck. Regarding the story about the shooting in the movie theater, I think this is very, very similar to a road rage incident. Yeah, absolutely. What happens when you give a gun to someone with a road rage type of personality? Well, nothing good, to answer your rhetorical question. Chuck also says, regarding your technology rant, the internet is my business. We've been hearing about net neutrality for years now. They will argue about this long after we're dead and gone. If this happens, it will be such a slow migration that we won't even notice it. You mean taking the neutrality away? Really? If you want to worry about the internet, worry about the credit card hacks. You know what? I've decided I have a Target credit card. I have done nothing about that Target thing. I figure if it's how many millions? It's over 100 million people. I figure that's almost a third of all Americans. So we're all going to have our identity stolen. Fine. I give up. I cannot obsess about this crap. If it's like a crapshoot. I'm whistling past the graveyard, I know, but my God, I get the impression that there are people who, if they want access to absolutely everything in my life, they can get it. Right? Hello, caller. Oh, no.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
I just wanted, you were talking about the Target thing, and my daughter used my Chase MasterCard at Target, and on the day that happened, and I just got a charge for a couple, I don't know, $900 on my Chase account. But, the minute I talked to Chase, they took care of it, and it's gone off my information already in less than a week. So this whole, hacking, it's crazy, but it's like, what are you going to do about it? You're not going to
Right.
Not go to the store and charge something.
Yeah.
And, if something happens, there's things in place. People that are worrying about it, it's like, why are you worried?
Exactly. Just, stop obsessing about it. Right.
You just have to be more diligent and keep track of your charge cards, but other than that.
And the banks, your bank is looking, believe me, too.
Oh, yeah, they notified me before
they
I
flagged
found it.
Right, exactly.
I had a letter in the mail before I even noticed it, and I look at my charge cards every week or two.
Yeah.
But
so you actually did already see it.
I don't know what's going to happen with all that, but I'm not all that worried about it because you can't do anything about it.
That's the way I feel, too. I'm with you.
So.
La-di-da. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Have a good day.
You too. See, she'll live a long time. She's not going to stress. Okay, on the heels of the theft of Target's 100 million debit cards, we now have a hack at Neiman Marcus and at least 3 other major retailers. Commerce on the internet for the moment is in danger. Well, yeah, but everything's on the internet. So commerce is not going to stop. Melanie writes, my daughter also got her doctorate studying fruit flies. They're great for research because of their quick lifespan. Oh, I see. So, yeah. But they're so tiny. And I guess they're readily available. You can usually find them in my kitchen. Drive me crazy. Ray. All right, Ray. All right. Lynn, he says, so would fear of fruit flies be Drosophila phobia? Yes, it would. And an inordinate love of fruit flies would be Drosophila. Right? Ray's not done. Would a sexual obsession with fruit flies be? Oh, that's what I just... Oh, Drosophila. Does that have to be a sexual obsession? I just thought because it wouldn't be Drosophila named sexual, because if let's say, like what I was saying the other day, I'm a francophobe, not a francophile, but that I wasn't. I think phile just means right, you love, not necessarily in a sexual manner. But you're right, all those sexual aberrations end with philia. Yes, Drosophila. I was just trying to see if we could do something with fear of Philadelphia. Or no, love of Philadelphia. Philadelphia, Philly. No, let's just drop it. Roger writes, having guns on your person creates ad opportunities. Lynn, I used to work with a quiet, even-tempered man. He's a hunter and gun advocate. He was following me in his truck to a restaurant for lunch one day when all of a sudden I heard car horns blaring and loud, angry voices. When we got to the restaurant, he explained he was involved in a road rage incident with some youngsters. And that, quote, the youngsters were lucky he didn't have his gun. I immediately responded with, he was lucky he didn't have his gun. He thought about it for a few seconds and said that I was correct. Having worked in Cranberry and being surrounded by conservatives for 5 years, oh, you poor darling. Whenever there was another shooting in the news, I can't tell you how many times I heard someone say, if everyone was carrying, gun deaths would be prevented. That's what they think. The question I asked always drew looks as if I had an arm growing out of my head, and the question was, has there ever been a time you're glad you didn't have a gun on you? I then had to explain. I get angry sometimes, and a gun wouldn't be the best object in my hand at that time. I don't consider this deep thinking. Do you? No. No. Why can't people see that? And even, as you said, this guy, you said was an even-tempered man, nice guy. And yet, and he wasn't mentally ill, but his sense was, I would have, you just bump into somebody having a bad day, wrong time, and for some reason their impulse control has gone south, but they got a loaded gun on them. You wouldn't want me to have a loaded gun because I do have, I'm generally pretty, actually, in my real life. But yeah, I have a potentially mercurial temper. Wow. Yeah, it's funny how we, in this audience, think all this stuff is just a no-brainer. And there's an entire other group of our neighbors, maybe family members, maybe even some friends, who absolutely think the exact opposite. And that they think where they stand, it's a no-brainer. Wow. PJ just sent me a headshot of a Drosophila, a red-eyed Drosophila. Not my type. We'll take a break.
On the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Happy New Year from the all-new BurgBargains.com. Log on today for the best deals from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, and shows. Sign up for the weekly email update for your chance to win a $100 gift card from the Swickley Spa. The all-new BurgBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BurgBargains.com.
What is that?
Oh, it's my time machine.
Does it work?
Sure, just hit this button.
Whoa, dinosaurs. Cool.
Or we can go here.
Hey, that's Napoleon.
Oui.
Or we can go to the future.
Wow, hey, you have this nice house. Do I have a nice house?
No, you didn't save any money. Always spent it on vacations and stuff.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and correct that bad habit.
Yep.
Okay, the time machine is not real, but the saving thing is. Get in the habit of putting some of your money in savings each week through a 401k, savings account, or financial investments. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free ideas and easy tips on saving, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
What does this crazy little button do?
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Oh, God, you guys. I must have hit Hello, caller.
Hey, Lynn, I just, tying into what you just finished saying, it seems to me there is a inability to see subtlety or to see variations on people because, how often do you hear, the prime example was the earlier discussion about them saying, the sheriff saying, it's not about the guns, it's about the mental health issues.
It's always this or that, right?
And the other one is, if you take away the guns, only criminals will have guns.
Yeah, right.
Here's the thing: had you asked someone about that man that just shot the man in the theater a few weeks ago, they would have probably said he's a great, upstanding guy. Oh, he's ex-police,
ex-cop,
he's ex-law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Blah blah blah. Everyone is not there. You are not a criminal until you are a criminal. You do not fly off the handle and go crazy or lose your mind or do whatever until it happens to you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So to say that it's simply as, there are criminals and we need guns to defend ourselves against criminals, or there is someone that is mentally unstable and they should not have a gun. All of those conservative people that are saying that up in Cranberry, that think that way up in Cranberry, fail to realize that rational person that they're sitting with and talking to, that is a gun owner, could snap tomorrow.
Right.
And then they are the mentally unstable criminal.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's
but
a good
right now,
point.
They're just your coworker sitting next to you, hanging out.
It's a good point. Great point.
So, thanks, son.
Thank you. Okay, more on fruit flies. Emailer says to kill a fruit fly, spray water on your hands, and clap. Well, clap with a fruit fly in between your hands, right? I mean, if I were to spray water on my hands right now and start clapping, fruit flies are not going to start dropping dead, right? To kill a fruit fly, spray water on your hands. Why water? And clap. I have killed fruit flies, many a fruit fly using this technique. I hate them. Aw. Margaret says you cannot hear the fruit flies scream when you cut them. Oh. Well, I bet Horton the elephant in Horton Hears a Who would hear him. And Ray writes, you are more correct. Yes, philia is more love than sexual attraction. I was just going for the shock joke, he said. Funny, the word Drosophila means loves wet things. That he's using his old Latin. He thinks that's what it means. But we just had the guy who said that if you wet your hands, it'll kill them and clap. So why would they love wet things if your wet hand is going to potentially take them out? Okay, I just want to say, after having said that, can we stop talking about Drosophila? And I just want to say I am really sorry I ever said out loud what was in my head. Who would think you could do an entire show on friggin' Drosophila? Okay, I have got to get some things in. The fact that an unemployment extension for the long-term unemployed in this country has not yet been passed by our despicable Congress is so I just want to read you this. Some senators remained optimistic that they would still be able to reach a compromise, but the earliest they're likely to return to the legislation is, well, maybe at the end of the month when they return from a week-long break. These guys just had a huge break. I believe it was like their Christmas break, right? They came back. They passed one friggin' law, congratulated themselves ad nauseum, failed to give relief to the most needy people, and are now going back home for another vacation. And maybe they'll get around to addressing the issue of the millions of Americans who literally have not a clue how they're going to keep their house, feed their family, or get through the next 24 hours. But no sense of urgency felt on the part of our, here's a blast from the past, of our public servants. My contempt knows no bounds. Well, if you're looking for something to be happy about, be happy you don't live in Nigeria. God, what a hellhole that must be. This is the most populous nation in Africa. And, of course, it's Nigeria that just passed this law making it essentially a crime to be gay. And or to support any gay person. You can do 14 years in jail for being gay. They're already rounding up gay people. They're torturing a few to get the names of more gay people. Imagine, in a country the size of Nigeria, we are talking about literally millions of human beings who are gay. And they have just, and that Nigeria is not exactly alone. That whole continent is so homophobic, it's beyond belief. Well, as bad as things are here and all our moaning and groaning, a little perspective. Okay, in my final moments, this is my favorite obit of some time. Madeline Arakawa Gins. It says right here that she was a visionary. God, that's pretty cool if when you drop dead, it says visionary in your headline. Madeline Arakawa Gins, and you don't even know who the hell she was. Well, the very fact that she's dead is huge news. Because her vision, a la the visionary aspect, I had read about her before. And she was nuts. You talk about mental health, she was stark raving mad. However, she was mad in this sort of wondrous way. And so she and her husband, Arakawa, were driven by a philosophy that they called reversible destiny. And in their visionary way, reversible destiny essentially was the refusal to die. They really believed that if they just said, no, I'm not. And they were architects and artists. And so they built buildings that they thought would help you live forever. I mean, these guys had big showings at the Guggenheim, and one of their biggies in 1997 was called Reversible Destiny. We have decided not to die. Well, as I said, this is an obit. She's dead. So I guess deciding not to die and making strange buildings that if you live in, you won't die. I guess the visionary, well, was a little myopic. Why is that a visionary? It is so stupid. Now, I have to admit that this one thing they're famous for, they put up like an apartment complex, although it's a bunch of pods somewhere in Japan. And I think it's just beautiful. I love the way it looks. But inside, they did bizarre things so that no surface was level, no corner was true, no line was plumb, and they believed in an architecture of instability because they thought that instability would sort of keep the occupant on his or her toes and consequently help them cheat death. Oh, my God. They put electric switches in unexpected places so you had to feel around for them. They have doors so small you had to bend to get through them. You would constantly lose your balance in their homes. You could easily trip and fall. All of this was part of their grand visionary design, she and her husband, to cheat death. By living this way, they said, it was possible to stave off the stagnation that living in comfort brings, and consequently stave off inevitability of death. Her husband preceded her in death 4 years ago. He died, and now she's gone. Aw. And at a relatively young age, by my calculation, 72 years old. But why are they treated seriously when they do such silly things? I guess I'm going to hang on to this and ask Sokolowski tomorrow. The New York Times in no way suggests it's ironic that they're dead in this obit. And I think that's bizarre. A principled search for an architecture of immortality, says the Times. To which I, a relatively unschooled rube, says, stupid. All right, the immortal visionary is dead. And on that note, we also are finished for this hour. Be back tomorrow. And again, the aforementioned Sokolowski, who knows something or two about art. I'll run this by him. Hope you join us.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.